Hello friends, this is Leo. Welcome to the module 6 of the Pivot Bars Mastery course. In this module, we're going to look at the high probability trading strategies. So this is the heart of this course, and where we're going to combine the CPR and VWAP and pivot levels that we have seen so far, such as standard pivots and Camarilla pivots. So this table will give you a kind of a snapshot of all 6 core strategies. Each one is designed for different market conditions, ranging from breakout trade to mean reversal setups. Okay, so let's break it down one by one. So the first strategy is usually based on CPR and standard pivots. Okay, so we're going to look at the standard pivots CPR combination, and then we're going to look at how we're going to take a trade based on. So let's say, for example, for the bullish setup, the price has to be above the CPR and it should be either breaching R1 and R2 level, okay, or R2 level. So for the bearish setup, the price should be below CPR and probably it should be breaking S1 or S2 level. So remember, we have talked about this reaction zones, be it R1 and R2, or rather S1 and S2 in the initial module. So we're going to look at those things as an example in this module. Entry triggers at pivot levels with tight stop loss and placements. Okay, so when you have the high confluence with the standard pivots aligned with the CPR, such as the TC and BC, it is going to give a lot of edge. Okay, so this is strategy 1 where we're going to combine standard pivots and CPR. In the strategy 2, we're going to look at the CPR with the Camarilla pivots. And in this example, we're going to merge the CPR along with the Camarilla pivots from level L3 to L5 and H3 to H5, and which technically gives a kind of an intraday breakout opportunities. So bullish triggers, price should be above CPR and crossing H3 level, and H4 level is a breakout zone, and then we are going to target the H5. So likewise for the bearish triggers, price should be below the CPR and breaching L3 levels and all the way up to L5 level. Aggressive entries near H3 or L3 with confirmation from the price action. So we're going to look at that. So Camarilla pivots provide tighter levels for precise stop loss placements and risk management. So in strategy 3, we're going to look at the VWAP breakout plus CPR confirmation. So this strategy is ideal when the price opens near CPR and shows directional intent. Could be either bullish or bearish. Okay. So wait for the price to break above VWAP with strong momentum if it is a bullish setup. Opposite is true, like wait for the price to break below VWAP with a strong momentum on the bearish side, right? And always ensure that the price is above CPR or breakout from within, right? This is on the bullish side. Opposite is true, like for example, ensure that the price is below the CPR and it's breaking down. So strategy 3, we're going to look at the VWAP breakout plus the CPR confirmation. So this strategy is ideal when the price opens near CPR and shows directional intent. So what is step 1? We are going to wait for the price to break above VWAP with strong momentum. This is on the bullish side. Okay? And ensure that the price is above CPR or breakout from within it. Okay? And the third step is even enter after a small pullback to VWAP or CPR. Target the nearest pivot resistance or support based on the direction, right? And use the CPR low or recent swing low as a stop loss. It could be, if it is a bearish, it should be the opposite. But in this strategy, we are going to look at, we are looking at bullish, but it is also applicable for the bearish. And this is going to be your typical trend continuation trade with the institution alignment. We talked about this. It is extremely important that we should trade along with the smart. And the strategy 4 is about the narrow CPR explosion. And we have seen this in previous slides as well, but we will cover this in this slide also. So narrow CPR days, one shouldn't miss, and that is a gold mine opportunity for explosive moves. Okay? So identify CPR that is narrower than the previous day and wait for a strong breakout above or below CPR with volume. Always remember, volume is very, very key. We talked about this. Volume moves the price. So we should always look for a volume confirmation. And the step 3 is enter on a pullback or a breakout candle close. Use the CPR as a stop loss and target 1.5x to 2x depending upon the CPR width. Okay. So this strategy is purely thrives on the volatility expansion after compression. Okay. And the strategy 5 is about the Camarilla point reversal at H10L3. I think we have seen this example before, but we'll also see it one more time. This is perfect for the reversal trades. So we would wait for the price to approach H3 or L3 Camarilla levels and look for a rejection candle like a pin bar, inside bar, or a bearish or bullish engulfing bar, and enter in the direction of the reversal. And usually the target should be the middle point of the CPR or the middle point of the range or the CPR. Stop loss goes just above H4 or below L4. Right? This strategy is ideal for mean reverting markets. Okay, we call it a mean reversion trade. And the sixth strategy is using a 15-minute range break, and we use a pivot filter also, which is pretty good for the intraday momentum. So we would wait for the first 15 minutes high and low after the market is open and wait for a breakout from this range. And there are conditions. We should be aligning this breakout along with the CPR and VWAP direction, right? So let's say the CPR is, if the price is staying above the CPR and the VWAP is below the price, then we should go for a bullish trade. Opposite is true. If the price is, if the CPR, if the price is below the CPR and the VWAP is above the candle, right? We should look for a bearish trade, right? Typically, we use the target as S1 and S2 or R1 and R2, depending upon the pivots that we use, and it purely depends on the volatility, right? And obviously, stop loss is either a CPR or probably opposite at 15 minutes of the candle, right? And these are 6 strategies that we are going to look at today. And here we are going to look at in this slide, we are going to look at the entry, exit, and stop loss. Okay, this is a unified rule for all the strategies. Okay, you're going to follow these rules. Entry should be only after confirmation, and we should never jump into early trade. Stop loss, we always use CPR as an edge, pivot as a stop loss, or a candle structure. Okay, what is the target that we should normally look at? We should look for an 1:2 or probably a pivot logic. So what does it mean is that, let's say that we are taking at the S1 level, right? What should be our target? The S2 should be a target, right? And then we move the stop loss to the S2, and then S3 would be a target. This is a pivot logic. And this is applicable for Camarilla as well. When there is a breakout at H3, the target should be H4. And if the H4 is breaking out, the target should be H5. And likewise on the opposite side, L3, L4, and L4. So this is an example for the first strategy, where we are going to look at the pivot points S1, S2, S3, and S4 in relation to the CPR. So I have disabled all the other Camarilla pivots, right? And if you look at here, I have disabled all the Camarilla pivots, and I'm showing only the standard pivots. Okay? So we have seen this, CPR migrating towards downside, right? And market opened above the CPR, and then it was testing the CPR, have a rejection. And then while it was crossing down the previous day low, we have seen that it is meeting the target of S1 first, right? The moment we see this rejection, we'll probably take a trade at this location. Okay? And then we will wait for this right? And the moment we see this breakout, we would move our stop loss to S1, right? And wait for the target of S2, right? And when the S2 breaks, we'll move the target to the S2 and then wait for the market to hit S3, right? So this continues, right? This will continue. Okay. So this is one way of looking at this, and we look at the another positive side. So this is an bullish momentum, okay? And we have seen this, again, an narrow CPR, right? Market was rotating, and it was taking the support at the CPR, and it was breaking the R1 level and the previous day high, which is considered as a very powerful break point, right? And you can see this candle here, right? And now if you're taking trade at this level, you would keep the target as R2 and then move the stop loss to the R2 and wait for the target of R3, right? So we'll move the target to S3. Okay? This is on the strategy 1 where we use the standard pivots and the CPR. So this is another example that we can look at for the Camarilla pivots strategy. So if you see that the candle is opened, within the CPR, and it has given a breakout above CPR and stayed above this H3 level. And what should be our target? Our target should be on the H4 level. Okay? So it was tested very close, right? And after this breakout with the volume confirmation, we will enter a trade and we'll wait for the target to hit H4, right? And if this continues, it could probably even H5, but in this case, it did not happen. So not every time it happens, but if it's a good trending day, it will happen. So let's take a look at the bearish trade using the Camarilla pivots. So this was the previous day CPR, and the current day CPR is just a little above, but a narrow CPR, right? And if you remember, we talked about a huge gap up, right? And this is one example. And if you look at this, market was here at 24,280 level, and market has had a very big gap up, right? Almost like a 300-point gap up in Nifty, which does not happen usually. And you can see the trade reversal, right? And the moment it crosses the H5, right, it is hitting the H4 and also hitting the L in H3, right? Breaking the H3, you can see that it is breaking L3 and also breaking L4 and also breaking L5, right? So this is a very fantastic trade that we can take, right? And all you got to do is you got to keep, migrating your stop loss to the lower, right? Although this is a very strong trend, meaning like, could act as a good support or a resistance. But today, since we had a very big gap up and this trend, followed. Okay? This is another example of looking at the Camarilla pivots on the negative side, on the bearish side, right? Now, so let's take a look at the strategy 3, which is nothing but the VWAP breakout and a CPR confirmation. Okay? And so we can look at this day, right? I have turned on the VWAP and also I have turned on both the Camarilla pivots and the standard pivots. You can see it here, right? Everything is turned back on. And while we look at this, you can see that, in this previous day, we had a CPR on the higher level. And this day, the CPR was a narrow CPR and was opening below the previous day CPR, right? Which technically indicates a bearish move, opening with a good buying candle, staying above the VWAP, breaking the H3, breaking the day's high, right? Coming back this level, we normally discuss about these levels in the trading room. The previous day CPR can also act as a support and a resistance level in many occasions, right? And this was tested. It came back, took a confirmation at the VWAP, right? And then it gave. So this is a good example on the upside. And we can take a look at the examples of the previous day for a downside. You can see this, VWAP was market has opened below the CPR, right? And price was trading below the VWAP. And you can see that, it was testing the VWAP. Here also it has tested the VWAP and then trended below, right? And technically this is an L4 level, right? Let me move the slide a little to the right side so you can see this tape. So this is an L4 level, right? You can see this here, and also having a resistance trading below the VWAP, and then target is could be either S1 or even an L5, right? And which is achieved exactly this point. So if you look at this, this is the fund. So if you combine these, right, you would really good a lot of good trades, and all you got to do is that you have to be patient, because this was challenging, right? One would not take a trade at this level if you're a beginner, right? But in order for you to stay in the game, you have to be patient, and you look at this level, right? Good rejection, right? And then it come back, it tested the S2 level, and then also tested the H5 level. Sorry, L5 level. Okay, so this is a good trade using the VWAP. And let's take a look at the next one. We talked about this very often, like a narrow CPR expansion, right? This is something that we have seen in the previous example. Narrow CPR always lead to good expansion, okay? And be it on the upside or be it on the downside also. Let's see one example on the downside. Okay, so this is the downside narrow CPR, right? Price. So this is the narrow CPR. Prices hugging around the CPR and the VWAP. Moment it gave a breakout, trended all the way down for the rest of it, right? So this should be your trade on the short side. Normally we don't set the targets, we always trial, because we don't know how big the move is going to be, right? It is better to trial the stop losses and stay in the trade for a long period of time, right? Unless otherwise you have a fixed target in your. Okay, now let's take a look at the next strategy, which we going to talk about, which is strategy 5, right? Where we're going to talk about the Camarilla reversals. Okay, so this is another example for a Camarilla reversal. So let's say that we have seen this example before, right? So we had a breakage at the L3 level, right? So this to the right side, you can look at these tables very clearly. So we had a breakage at the L3 level to the downside, right? And it was breaking below the L4 and also breaking below the L5, right? But when the market bounced back, right, you can see this, it was breaking above the L5 and keeping the target to L3, right? So, and also it went all the way very close to the H3. So this is a kind of, reversal trade we normally look at it. So we had two trades on this particular day. The moment we see this, we can take another trade on the reversal point. Right? So this is another example. There are many examples. Unfortunately, I couldn't find many slide to show it in the class. But then, when we see it live, we can see it in real time. And the last strategy is about the 15-minute breakout. So on the intraday, right, we always look at 5 minutes, 3 minutes, okay, depending upon the structure, right? And sometimes it is very important that we should wait for an breakout, the 15 minutes time frame, right? Let me give you an example. So this is the last strategy where we are going to look at the 15-minute range break and plus the pivot fill. Okay? So normally when we do an intraday trading, we use 3 minutes. The moment we know that it is going to be a sideways range with a wide CPR, and we use probably 3 minutes or 5-minute chart on a trending day, because we know we want to catch those trending day pretty early once we get some confirmation, right? But there are some days where it is going to lead into a lot of confusions, like for example this case, right? There wasn't any clear direction that we are getting, right? You see this, it was a CPR, and the following day CPR is within the CPR, but it's a narrow CPR, right? And then again, the next following day, we had a below CPR, price was moving. So we do not know whether the price is going to move higher or not. So in these conditions, right, it is always it's better to use a 15-minute chart, right, and wait for a pivot confirmation, right? So this is a 15-minute chart, right? And if you look at this, the candle has finished this particular 15 minutes, and then it closed above the central pivot. So this is an important thing, right? So this is an important thing. So when you see this, right, it gives a kind of a confirmation. I have enlarged this a little bit. You can see this, it has given a confirmation that it's taking the support, right? And this is a good point to enter, right? Or even enter at the middle point. Or if you want to enter at the breakout level, you can enter at the breakout level also. This is a H3 break, right? So it is important sometimes to look at the 15 minutes time frame when we know that the pivot range is in a complete sideways, right? And that kind of give you a better filter when it comes to the sideways, or kind of a tricky days, right? So we look for the VWAP confirmation. We look for the VWAP, we look for the VWAP confirmation, and also we look for the CPR confirmation. The moment we know that it is going to be a day that to take a trade on the marks. Okay? So this is the last example, and I hope you like this video. And so to summarize, so we have seen the VWAP and CPR for the trending trades. And also we looked at the trend reversals at Camarilla levels, right? And also we have exploited the narrow CPR days for the breakouts. And also we have seen some of the trades using the standard pivots and the Camarilla pivots. Okay? And also we have seen some of the examples with the range breakouts with the pivot logic. Okay? And I will see you in the next module. Thank you. Jai Hind. Bye-bye.